Things are looking good. Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we are continuing the Pokémon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Last time we made our way to Mount Chimney, and we were able to thwart Team Aqua's plans of filling a volcano with water in order to make new habitats for water Pokemon. Yeah, this game has some interesting storylines with the villain team here, but we managed to take care of all that and made our way to Lavaridge City, which is going to be the site of our next gym battle. So yeah, today's session we're going to be focusing on clearing this next gym, and then we're going to be seeing a bunch of stuff that we'll be able to do in order to prepare ourselves for what's to come. So yeah, in between stream sessions, I did a bit of training with some of our Pokemon in order to prepare for this fight. So you can see we got a bunch of our team all trained up that we have previously used before, and we got ourselves a bit of a new face here, because we caught a Geodude in the last session, and I realized that Geodude's actually pretty good to have in this part of the story here in the Hoenn games. Because with the next gyms we're going to be facing, we got Fire, Normal, and Flying all in a row in terms of major battles. So yeah, Geodude's actually really good to have in this stage of the adventure. So I decided to train up Granite, and now he is a big old Graveler. So he's going to be really good in this upcoming set of battles, hopefully. This moveset really isn't too crazy here. Just got Rock Throw and Magnitude for damage. I don't really see Mud Sport being that useful for anything. But yep, just a pretty solid Pokemon that we have here. Sup, name's Granite. Okay, definitely excited to be using you today, dude. Yeah, whatever. And of course, we got the rest of the team prepared for this. So for this gym, I would highly recommend having water, rock, and ground-type Pokemon before entering this. Because, oh boy, are we gonna have a very heated match over here. So let us enter the Lavaridge Gym. Hey, how's it going, Champion Bound Hayden? Lavaridge's gym leader, Flannery, uses Fire-type Pokemon. Her passion for Pokemon burns stronger and hotter than a volcano. Don't get too close to her, you'll burn. Hose her down with water and then go for it. So got a very cool aesthetic with this gym right off the bat. Where the whole deal with Lavaridge is that it's sort of a resort town at the base of a volcano, where they got natural hot springs, and the gym fits with this theming pretty nicely, as we have ourselves a bit of a sauna that we have to go through, as you can tell by how misty it is entering this place. And of course, in here we got ourselves some Fire-type Pokemon to deal with, like this Slugma. There's really not much to this thing. It's got good special attack, but the rest of its stats, especially its speed, are very low. So Slugma is definitely not going to be that much of a threat to us. We can also run into Numel here, which are fire ground types. Definitely a nice combination to have, but it also gives them a major weakness to water. So you can easily handle these guys with the right set of Pokemon here. And of course, we got ourselves a pretty formidable force here. So specifically for this area, water and rock would be very high priority, as not only do they do super effective damage to fire Pokemon, but they also naturally resist fire, which is definitely pretty helpful and something you will want, as fire tends to be one of the more offensive typings when it comes to the damage they can deal. Yeah, fire types are traditionally pretty powerful, and fire can damage a lot of types super effectively. And then we got ourselves a not fire type here, so this guy is Kecleon. It's a normal type with the gimmick of being able to change its typing depending on the moves that it gets attacked with. So because Granite hit it with a rock move, it changed to a rock type. Because of this, we can actually take advantage of its ability in order to maximize damage, as now that this Kecleon's a rock type, we can use Magnitude to do super effective damage to it. Yeah, I really feel bad for Kecleon just because of how easily you can exploit this thing's ability in order to do a lot of damage. It's a Pokemon I like conceptually, but I never really have much motivation to use it on a team. It's a cool Pokemon. In fact, it was one of the earliest Generation Free Pokemon to appear in the anime long before Ruby and Sapphire came out. Yeah, I remember a pair of Kecleon made an early appearance in the show, and then a Kecleon was also featured in the... I think it was the Pikachu hide-and-seek short. Yeah, it was the short that played before the Celebi movie, so that was definitely a fun little treat to get to see this Pokemon before the Generation 3 games were actually released. Managed to get a level up on Granite, which is quite nice. Since we're using this specific Pokemon, I do want to mention one major thing with regards to this run and this specific Pokemon. So, Graveler is interesting in that it's what's known as a trade evolution Pokemon, where in order to get it into its final form, you would need to trade it with another player in order to trigger the evolution. So, in most cases, like especially on some hardware, you would not normally be able to evolve these Pokemon. However, with the current setup that I am using, I actually ran my copy of Sapphire through a program that would allow me to be able to essentially edit aspects of the game in order to help out with a few different things, and one of the options you're able to do is actually to cancel the ability of having evolutions that would be impossible to use otherwise. So things like trade evolutions are now changed into normal level up evolutions. So in this particular run, if we decide to use our Graveler for later stages of the adventure, he would pretty easily be able to enter his final form and could be a very good use to us in our adventure. This is basically the same program I used back when I played through... back when I did my run of Fire Red the previous year. How I used that in order to be able to evolve some of my Pokemon. Most notably, my Graveler that I use in that run into a Golem. Which was quite nice, as she got to be on the Hall of Fame team of that particular run. So yeah, it's a nice little bonus we'll have to be able to access certain evolutions that we would not be able to see otherwise. So we should be pretty good at using Blocky in this area. He doesn't have a resistance to fire, unlike what Granite had, but he still does super effective damage with Dig, so he should be able to handle anything these guys can do. And we don't have to worry about any fire types having Levitate or having the flying typing in order to be able to make them immune to this kind of damage. So we're all gonna be good. Another thing I want to note with this area is you would want to grab a couple of burn heals in this area, since a lot of fire type attacks have the added effect of being able to inflict burn, which will not only deplete your Pokemon's HP over time, but, yeah, we missed our shot there, but it also will cut the attack stat of the Pokemon affected by a burn in half. So that's something you definitely don't want to see if you're using a very physically oriented team, like I currently am. Alright, we should be just about good here. We got just one more hole we gotta drop down, and we'll be at the gym leader. Another thing that could be helpful is with the specific Pokemon we'll be encountering here, it could also be a good idea in order to stock up on a few Paralyze heals, just because of one specific Pokemon that we'll be facing here. And another thing that could be useful is I would highly recommend making sure that you bring the Red Flute, which is an item you're able to get by collecting Ash on Route 113. So that would be really useful in this next battle. Alright, so I don't think I'm going to be using Granite in this fight, depending on how things go, but I do want you to be at max HP, just so that we're prepared. And hello, Xavier, you made it right on time for this big battle here. It's going to be saving right quick, and it's time to face this gym leader. Welcome! No, wait. Puny trainer, how good to see you've made it here. I've been entrusted with the... No, wait. I'm Flannery, and I'm the gym leader here. Dare not underestimate me, though I've been leader only a short time. With skills inherited from my grandfather, I shall demonstrate the hot moves we've honed on this land. So we got ourselves a bit of a new gym leader here, Flannery. Gotta say right now, very attractive design on this lady. Yeah, she is kind of a rookie gym leader, as she doesn't have a whole lot of experience and inherited this position from her grandfather. But she is still quite formidable. I would even go so far as to say she's one of the toughest bosses in this game. Though specifically in her Emerald incarnation, though in Vanilla, Ruby, and Sapphire, she could still be very formidable. So we're going to be leading this fight with Blocky here, just easily take out that Slugma. And let's see what comes out next. Another Slugma. If you fight her in Emerald, she has both a Numel and Numel's evolution, which is Camerupt. And those could be quite vicious when you get to see those things in action. And I'm really upset that Slugma managed to set up with Sunny Day. So Sunny Day is a form of weather that, when deployed on the battlefield, will increase the damage of fire-type moves for the next 5 turns. So this is quite bad, especially now that we got Flannery's ace, Torkoal. This thing is a monster. We're going to switch over to Filet, as he is going to be able to resist whatever this thing is going to do to us now. Oh yeah, this thing has the ability White Smoke, which prevents its stats from being lowered. I was kind of hoping we could intimidate this thing so that we could lower its attack for one of its moves. But yeah, what that Torkoal just used is a move called Overheat, which is a 140 base power fire-type attack. And since it's coming off of Torkoal's pretty high special attack stat, yeah, that thing hurts. It's easily the most damaging Pokemon that we have seen in this part of our adventure so far. So Filet actually got paralyzed by a Body Slam, so we're gonna go ahead and full restore, replenish our health, and... Oh, come on! I don't want to see this. Should be able to heal up this paralysis. So yeah, this thing can be very nasty. It can deal really intense damage with its Overheat, and also can do that. I'm gonna Soda Pop this one. It's got Body Slam, which is also a very powerful move that can also paralyze you. This thing is really nasty. And we also haven't seen another one of the strategies that Flannery likes to employ. So Torkoal's really high defenses, so I'm actually going to be focusing on using Dragon Rage against this thing. Oh, come on. As Dragon Rage will do a set 40 damage. So that's very good for just cutting through very defensive Pokemon. That's a last full restore. This thing also has Flail, which is a physical attack that does damage based on how much HP the user has. But it is down. Man, we didn't even get to see it using one of its other attacks that is very, very nasty in this fight. Blocky gets a level up for his services, and it's over. Oh, I guess I was trying too hard. I've only recently become a gym leader. I tried too hard to be someone I'm not. I have to do things my natural way. If I don't, my Pokemon will be confused. Thanks for teaching me that. For that, you deserve this. Another thing I like with Flannery, if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they make her facial expressions just really expressive throughout this entire battle. And it really makes her come off as just very charming with how awkward she is at trying to be perceived as formidable, despite being so new to this. If you have a Heat badge, all Pokemon up to level 50, even those you get in trades from other people, will obey you completely. And it lets Pokemon use the HMU's strength outside of battle. This is a token of my appreciation. Don't be shy about taking it. And not only do we get a badge, we get TM50. That TM50 contains Overheat. That move inflicts serious damage on the opponent, but it also sharply cuts the special attack of the Pokemon using it. It might not be suitable for longer battles. This move is, like I said before, really damn good. 140 base power, easily the best attack that you can teach to any fire type in this game. It does have the drawback of lowering your special attack every time it's used, but besides that, it's phenomenal. Hayden, long time no see. Oh, while I was visiting the hot springs, you got the Lavaridge Gym badge. You must have caught good Pokemon. No, I guess you raised some. I guess it'd be okay for you to have this. So May here's gonna give us the Go Goggles. With those Go Goggles, you'll have no trouble getting through the desert near Route 111. But wow, Hayden, challenging gyms? You're trying hard because you don't want to lose to me, I'll bet. Hayden, I think I should challenge your dad in Petalburg Gym. Hayden, see you again. At least we don't get a battle here. But yeah, what she said is definitely a nice hint about where we're gonna go next on our adventure. So now that we have beaten Flannery, we have now obtained 4 gym badges. Only 4 more remain. We are halfway through our adventure. And at this point, there is a bit of some unfinished business we have with our father back in Petalburg City. So we'll want to head back there very soon. But for now, I want to take a bit of a break from story progress, as we have the opportunity to explore a bit more of this region and get to see a bit more things that we are able to do now that we have acquired the means of being able to use strength as well as being able to enter the desert that we have seen throughout our adventure. So definitely want to bring in Liam, as he's going to be pretty nice to train up in this next part. And yeah, we'll bring in Gladys. So I guess you can replace Echo for now. Also want to show that while we were training, I also took the liberty of leveling up Bobble, as I thought having a nice tanky poison type could be useful at some point. Though, sadly, Poison-type Pokemon really aren't all that helpful in this region, so I don't know if I'll be bringing him onto any of our future battles, but it's nice to have them as an option. And I'm also going to be bringing the egg that we picked up in Lavaridge Town with us, as I actually had it in our party while we were grinding our team, and it is pretty close to hatching at this point. So we'll just keep you around and see what happens. Okay, we have plenty of Pokemon with strength in our party, so we should be able to do what we need to do. there is actually some more stuff we can do around the Lavaridge area that I would like to show off. Namely, if we head back up the Jagged Pass, there are some things we should be able to do back on the crater of Mount Chimney. It's actually something that becomes available after you arrive in Lavaridge, but I wanted to save this for a little bit later, because this could be pretty useful at training up our team for some of the next couple of battles we're going to do. Also, there's some unfinished business we have a bit later that could be good to see. So after clearing things up on the crater with Team Magma and Team Aqua, we can find this old lady over here. Lava cookies are Mount Chimney's local specialty. Try one. It's just 200 Poké Dollars. We will go ahead and buy one. So these things are one of the best healing items you can get. The lava cookie is essentially another version of a full heal, where you can use these to heal any status ailment a Pokemon has. And they're only $200, so you can easily get a lot of good healing items from here, and it's just much more cost-effective compared to buying full heals. Definitely a nice upgrade that you want to pick up in this area. Since I bathed in the hot springs, I've been feeling great. I'm sure I'm gonna win. Yep, now that we have dealt with things with Team Aqua, there are some trainers that come up to the top of Mount Chimney in order to train, which gives us a nice opportunity to train up our Pokemon here. Liam is not in a good position to fight a Numel, so let's switch you out. So yeah, we got a couple of battles that we're able to do over here. And we're going to be taking on every trainer we can here. So, what are we able to talk about while we're just dealing with some of the things around here? So I'm having a pretty good day so far. I've actually got a 4-day break from work this weekend, so definitely going to be taking good advantage of that and just having some nice time to relax, and hopefully we'll be making some progress towards getting our next stream session in pretty soon. Because, yeah, I definitely think we're going to be taking on the next gym in the very next session that we do. Though, yeah, I definitely got some more preparations to do so that we are ready for this eventual battle. But I'm quite excited for how this one is going to go. So yeah, but definitely have some preparations to make for that session, but hopefully we'll be able to get it done somewhat early next week. Besides that, things have also been just pretty okay on my end. So, haven't had things be too crazy with work and my home life at the moment. Though something did happen pretty recently that I had to deal with. So it's been obviously very cold lately, and especially up here in Canada, we've seen a lot of snow and ice the last couple of weeks, and definitely been building up a large amount of ice that is on our roof, and I think that some of the ice on our roof has started to melt and has actually started leaking into our house. And I noticed this because I saw that some water was actually dripping from my windowsill in my room. And yeah, that was actually quite bad. I was actually watching the water drip down onto my bed and onto my pillow a few days ago, so that was obviously pretty bad. And I noticed that while I was in the middle of watching another stream from somebody that I like to watch frequently, so I was dealing with that while also having to try and pay attention to that stream, and yeah, it was quite the nasty thing to have to deal with. But happy to report that things are a bit better now. So what I did to deal with that is I actually consulted my brother about what we should do about that, and we went and grabbed some caulk from Walmart in order to use that to help seal up some of the cracks on my windowsill in order to stop the water from leaking in. And I'm happy to report that I haven't seen any more water drip in recently. So that was quite nice. Yeah, I don't know how much more we can expect some more potential leakage, but for now things are doing pretty good. Yeah, just the typical pains of what you have to deal with living in a very cold climate. But thanks to our efforts here, managed to beat all the trainers we can find on top of the mountain. So that's everything we need to do here. So I actually believe some of the trainers here you can rematch later. So it'd be a good idea to come back to the top of the mountain if you want to battle for more experience. Though we're probably not going to unlock the ability to rematch trainers until a bit later. So looking at our trainer's eyes here, yeah, none of the trainers that we have fought so far have asked for rematches. It's also funny that the gym leaders are also listed in the trainer's eye feature, considering the fact that you don't actually get the ability to rematch the gym leaders in the original Ruby and Sapphire. You are able to battle them again in Emerald, but obviously we don't have access to that yet. Well, not in this game, obviously, because we're playing Sapphire. But anyway, what I want to do, now that we have beaten Flannery, is we want to return to the fiery path, as there was this boulder over here that was blocking our way deeper into this area. And now that we have both strength and the Lavaridge Gym Badge, we should be able to proceed onward deeper into the cave. So this is something I highly recommend doing, because you can get some pretty elusive stuff by going into this cave. I think it'd also be a good idea to have the... possibly to have the item finder equipped here. I don't actually know if there are any hidden items, but it could be nice depending on what is in here. So hello, Torkoal. I've already dealt with your kind before. I still feel kind of bad at not getting Torkoal as our encounter here, as I do find it a very underappreciated Pokemon, at least in the early days. Nowadays, Torkoal got a very nice buff by having the ability Drought, which was previously only held by a legendary Pokemon for the longest time. So it's definitely quite nice to see it getting that substantial bonus. Definitely makes it a very handy Pokemon to use in battle. So not only does that improve its Fire-type moves, but it can also support its teammates pretty nicely. So, another good factor with Sunny Day is that there are a lot of Pokemon abilities that get the benefit from the sunlight, as many Grass-type Pokemon can have the ability Chlorophyll, which doubles their speed when the weather is sunny, or the ability Solar Power, which increases the damage of their moves when there is sunny weather. But, want to show here we picked up a new TM, which is Toxic. This is one of the best moves for dealing status ailments to opponents. So Toxic will grant an exclusive status ailment to opponents called Badly Poisoned, which is similar to Poison, but it will gradually worsen the damage it inflicts to the opponent over time. So it's very good for taking out very tanky Pokemon that would otherwise take a while to defeat, because they're able to resist whatever attacks you're doing to them. It's also just very good to have on Pokemon that would naturally have movesets that would benefit stalling out the opponents as much as possible. Yeah, it is a very solid attack. And one of the especially nice things about this move is that at this point in the series, pretty much any Pokemon that can learn a TM is able to learn Toxic. So yeah, you can teach this to whatever you want. You can teach it to a poison type like this Grimer here. Carl could learn Toxic. It's just a move that has such really good utility since so many Pokemon are able to learn it. Yeah, I can easily recommend teaching this to a Pokemon that you specifically want to be able to hold out in those very long battles, or just someone that you think can quickly set up a status ailment on an opponent, so then you can just quickly swap them out and watch their health drain over time. Such good stuff. Alright, we are just about at the end of this cave here. Get into one more battle, sure. I am not used to seeing Grimer so much in this place, because I used to play so much Emerald back in the day, so I would mostly encounter Coughing instead of Grimer down here. So I believe Grimer's like a 1% encounter in Emerald. But anyway, we're able to acquire a Firestone. That is an evolution stone that's probably not going to be that useful to us. Out of the Pokemon that can evolve with the Firestone, there's pretty much only one that we're able to capture in the main story of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. So this is good to hold on to for later, but for now, it's not really going to be helping us out that much. Alright, so now we're taking care of our business in here. I want to think about what our next course of action is going to be, because we have something coming up where we're going to be exploring a new area that will most likely have a lot of items for us to grab. And I'm not too sure about how much inventory space we currently have. Just give me a second to count our supplies here. Yeah, we have 19 inventory spaces filled. We only have space for one more item. So I think I'm actually going to head back to Lavaridge so that we can do what needs to be done and open things up a bit more. Yeah, this is something I really do not like about the older games. Like, I obviously love these games a lot, but the inventory management that you have to do in the older games is especially really bad. Especially for people back in the Generation 1 days, because, my god, there were not alternate pockets in the bag for different classes of inventory items. So, like, all of your key items, all your TMs, all your healing items would all be in the same pocket. And your inventory is obviously very limited in the Generation 1 games. So, yeah, that was abysmal to have to deal with back in the day. It was starting in Gen 4 where they granted it so that you can hold pretty much any item you want at any time, and you don't have to worry too much about space. As there are ways to max out your inventory, but really isn't that bad. You can pretty much hold one of every single type of item in your bag starting in Gen 4, and I am very thankful for those games because of it. Just in general, I really like the Gen 4 games. I know nowadays a lot of people tend to have negative feelings with regards to Gen 4, but I still have a lot of attachment to those games. And I'm also currently watching someone do a Let's Play of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, so I definitely had those fresh in my mind pretty recently. Oh, look at that. We almost have 100 $2,000. We can afford so much right now. Alright, so for the next area we want to go to, we are going to want to have Rock Smash in our current team. So, probably going to swap Mickey back in, which should be fine. Also leveled up Carl a bit more, and you're looking pretty good. So I would swap Liam out for someone else who might need experience, but Liam is very useful in this next area we're going to go to, so we're going to hold off on that. Yep, everyone's looking good there. Okay. And, of course, you have Rock Smash, so we should be good to head forward into a new area. And I've been very excited to talk about this place for quite a bit in this run. Now, sadly, this is the same area where we caught our Geodude as we got him from a rock that we smashed open. But welcome to the desert of Route 111. This area has a lot we can see. There are hidden items and stuff all over this place, as well as trainers. And you're able to run into a lot of exclusive Pokemon that can only be found in this area, like Trapinch here. So this is quite the interesting Pokemon. It's a pure ground type that will eventually evolve into a ground dragon type. It definitely requires a lot of babying in order to get it up to the levels necessary to evolve, but it is such a tremendous Pokemon. I cannot recommend it enough. It is just really good. Yep, Filet can take that protein there. So the way the desert works is that if you're in the darker, wavy sand up here, that is where you're able to encounter wild Pokemon. If you step into this sand here, then you won't encounter anything. So you definitely want to be careful of where you go around here if you want to avoid battles. But yeah, there are tons of exclusive Pokemon that can be found in this area. Like this thing that this trainer has, Baltoy. This is a more defensive Pokemon. It's a ground psychic type, which is quite the unique typing, one I definitely like quite a bit. And this one is pretty interesting. Like I said, it's more of a defensive tank, where its main draw is trying to obviously impede opponents by inflicting confusion and stuff. But these things can also have self-destruct, which as we've seen before can be quite devastating. So you definitely want to be careful when fighting these things. Also, seeing Baltoy here remembered how it just reminded me of the video that the Odd Ones Out did, where he was going for a Pokemon Ruby Nuzlocke run, and he actually used a Baltoy for quite a bit of his journey. It was quite nice to get to see that Pokemon getting some attention, since I don't really see too many people using the Baltoy family in Nuzlocke runs. And then, of course, he also had a Pokemon in that run getting killed by a wild Baltoy using self-destruct, so there is that. No, come on. Yeah, Filet is definitely taking a lot here. And it's not helped by the specific weather that we're dealing with in this area. So the desert on Route 111 has a unique weather condition here, where this area is going to be constantly in the midst of a sandstorm. So the sandstorm weather condition will make it so that any Pokemon that's not rock, ground, or steel will take damage at the end of a turn. So it can be quite annoying in the midst of a long battle in this area. It's not really that bad if you've got Pokemon that are able to resist this weather, or if you have Pokemon that have moves that can change the weather, but yeah. This place can be a bit nasty. If you're in the midst of a long battle and Yeah, sandstorms can really do a number on you. However, I am quite excited for something we could potentially get in this area that could be useful for the next gym we're going to be doing. I can't win on Spirit alone. Yep, sorry, kid. Alright, we took a bit of damage from that, so how about we give another Sody Pop to Filet, just filling you up with soda. Yep, our egg is still doing good progress, so it's probably going to hatch sometime around our exploring of this place. Also want to show that these little indents in the wall that we've been seeing all over the region, you're actually able to make secret bases inside of those. So that could be another place that you can use in order to set up a secret base if you want. Okay, if you're going for defense curl, then I'm just gonna bite you on the next turn. Since biting is not physical in this game, for some reason. But yeah, you can make secret bases in these little square indents. Now what I wanted to do here in the desert, if you go all the way to this corner here, in Ruby, Sapphire, and the remakes, not in Emerald, you're able to find these items over here. You found the root fossil. This fossil's taken, the other one will sink into the sand. So you have a choice of one of two different fossils here. The root fossil will turn into a rock grass type, whereas the claw fossil will turn into a rock bug type. Of these two options, I know which one I'm going to take. We're going to grab the root fossil, as I feel it would be nice to have some additional grass coverage later on in our adventure, should anything happen to Liam. But hopefully nothing's gonna happen to Liam. He's our starter. I would never let anything bad happen to a starter Pokemon in a Nuzlocke run, especially on this channel, right? Anyway, moving on. Why would you have a picnic in the desert? The sand will just get everywhere. You are just asking to turn a sandwich into a sand sandwich, Heidi. Whatever. Still got more Pokemon to fight in this area. So, we talked a bit about most of the Pokemon that can be found here. You can also run into Sandshrew, which obviously is a good choice of this area. They're very strong. But one of the other Pokemon in this area that's kind of on the rarer side you can find here is a grass type called Cacnea, which is a good Pokemon. It's got great offensive stats. Doesn't really have a moveset that complements its stats very well, though. And it's definitely on the frailer side when it comes to grass types. It eventually turns into a grass dark type, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's pretty rare here, and you're likely not going to be encountering it in a normal run. Especially in a Nuzlocke run, because they're so rare. I actually did use a Cacnea on my team when I did my Emerald streams over on Twitch back in the day. And she was certainly a good teammate. Quite liked using her. Especially because I could use Sandstorm with her to help with her ability, and then that also benefited one of the other teammates I had that was a Rock Steel type. So that was definitely a fun Pokemon to bring along for a good chunk of our adventure there. Yeah, it's quite nice to sit back and reflect on some of the older streams I did back in the day, because I did enjoy my time streaming on Twitch. But with some of the policies that they have shifted towards these days, I decided that going to YouTube would be a much better choice for me. Just my personal preferences. I know a lot of people that make a living over on Twitch, and good for them. But for me, who only does streams recreationally, just as a way of having something fun to do every once in a while. Now, I prefer doing things over on YouTube. Dang! Critical hit! Good work, Gladys! It's quite nice to see. I just want to get out of this desert. The sand is getting all stuck to my feathers. I can understand that, at least. We still got a bit of the desert to explore here. Ooh, rare candy. So I definitely want to make sure we have a good supply of these for later, as some of my Pokemon will evolve pretty soon, but still require a lot of levels, so I want to make sure we have those on hand for what's going to be coming up pretty soon. What's also nice about coming to this area with Gladys here, as she is a flying type, which means she is completely immune to ground type attacks. Okay, she's not able to one-shot a Baltoy. I was a bit worried about that. So we're probably going to be running from any Baltoys we see from here on, as these things are able to learn self-destruct, and I would rather avoid that. So what else do we have to find here? I heard there are fossils to be found in the desert. Where could they be? Well, sadly I got rid of one of them, but, you know, that's the way the fossilized remains of an extinct species crumble. Also want to watch out when fighting Sandshrew in this area, as these things have the ability Sand Veil, which makes them more evasive when there's a sandstorm. Can be quite nasty. But we should be fine. Yeah, we'll give you a super potion there, Gladys. If they can find fossils in the desert, must have been a sea before. Yeah, that is a good point. The fossils we picked up are of extinct aquatic species. So that this does mean that this section of the island was underwater at some point in history. She's got herself a Ruin Maniac over here. So this trainer class typically specializes in ground-type Pokemon or Pokemon with an ancient feel to them, as we can obviously see from the Sandslash here. Oh man, if you could poison me right now, you fool, you have triggered Gladys's ability. When she hits you, it's gonna hurt a lot. Alright, go. Come on. I would like to do some big damage to you. God, taking both Sandstorm and Poison damage, that is quite nasty, though. Yeah, we'll probably want to switch out after this. She is taking a lot, and with her accuracy down, it's going to make dealing with a Sandslash a pain. Oop, yep, that's enough out of you. Liam, you should be able to handle this. Come on, stop sanding me. Oh, come on. Shouldn't be that bad. I just keep lowering my accuracy, which is bad because you're of Sand Veil. There we go. It's only 20 base damage on Absorb, but Sandslash doesn't have a lot of special defense, so we're still able to do a good hit. Oof. Now we're poisoned. That sucks. Alright, this hit should finish you off. Oh, come on! Really? Okay, one more hit will take you out, so we are probably good. Oh, jeez. Yeah, probably gonna have to switch out again, because this is really grinding my clinks. I actually don't believe the Sandslash has any ground-type attacks, so Titania should be good here. Oh, never mind. It has Dig. But, you know, we can actually mess with it a bit. Alright, so that thing's going for Dig, so we can switch over to Fillet. And since Fillet is a flying type... Wow, we're able to intimidate you even from above ground. That's crazy. Yep, the Dig just doesn't do any damage. This is a weird battle. Luigi, please. Yes, take it out. Thank you. What a weird battle. Spreading around a lot of experience. Okay, my team desperately needs heals right now. Right, Gladys, you can take a soda pop. And we'll give another one to Liam. And then you two need antidotes. Ugh, thank you for that. Ugh. Yeah, that was certainly a rough match, but it's over. We didn't lose anyone. And we're able to pick up a Stardust and sell that for some good money. And if we keep heading south, should be able to see some more good things over here in the desert. Let's get rid of this thing. And we got an interesting rock formation over here. It's not gonna relate to anything we're gonna see unless we were to acquire some very exclusive Pokemon later on. But yeah, we'll just ignore that for now. So at the very southern end of the desert, we are able to pick up this TM, Sandstorm. So this will, of course, inflict a Sandstorm on the battle for 5 turns. Can be quite nice if you got a ground-type Pokemon that can benefit from this. And I have a good feeling that this specific move could be very useful to us later on, as we do have a fight coming up with some pretty strong and pretty tanky Pokemon, so being able to whittle them down with Sandstorm could be pretty nice. I've definitely been thinking a lot about what we're going to do for the next gym coming up, and I have a pretty good idea on the strategy I want to do, especially with the current team that we have, as we have a lot of Pokemon that can do quite a bit, and they synergize quite nice with each other depending on their moves and their abilities, so we should be good on that front. Yeah, this egg has been ready to hatch for a while now, but it still hasn't. And I guess it does take a while for this particular Pokemon to break free. But it's pretty much everything we're able to see in the desert now that we have acquired the fossil, as well as all those items. We are good for the next... Huh? Okay, so the egg's finally hatching. And the Pokemon we get from this egg is Wynaut. So this is a very unique Pokemon. What are we gonna call this thing? I actually got an idea. It's kind of weird, but just bear with me here. We'll call you Pamela. So I feel like that'd be pretty appropriate for you. So why not here is a pretty interesting Pokemon you're able to get from that egg. This is the baby of a Pokemon called Wobbuffet. It's a pure Psychic type, and this thing honestly sucks. It does not have any damage-dealing moves, and it won't learn any damage-dealing moves until way later on in its life cycle. However, once this thing gets to, I believe, level 16, it becomes one of the best revenge killers in the entire game. So Wobbuffet's entire deal is that it inflicts damage using only one of two moves, which are Counter and Mirror Coat. These are the counter moves, as Counter is able to reflect damage that is of the physical orientation, whereas Mirror Coat is for special moves. And yeah, this thing's whole shtick is that it takes a hit from an opponent, and then it uses its respective counter move to be able to deal twice the damage inflicted to it back in the opponent. If you plan things outright, this thing can be an absolute deadly machine to deal with. But we're probably not going to be using it just because of how difficult it is to actually set up and use it in a specific battle. But it is quite nice if you do manage to use it. It's definitely more of a competitive Pokemon than one to use during the main story. But given that this is a challenge run, it could actually have some nice utility to benefit you in that regard. But yeah, it's really not anything I'm too keen about using in our main party. Could be cool to use, but not really gonna make a big deal of it. So let's bring Shari back into the party, so I miss having my hyena with us. And for the next thing we're gonna do, I actually want to begin the process of events here. Hello there. Username is quite long, so sorry for not saying this right away. Adebukola. Hello there, welcome to the stream. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and sell these Stardust, since they are doing nothing for us being in our bag here. And we're probably gonna store this rare candy in the PC. So I have an idea on what the next thing we're going to focus on the stream is. Because pretty much the next goal we have in mind is going to Petalburg City when it comes to making story progress. But there are some things I want to do before we head over there. So the next thing I want to do, we're actually going back to Route 110. And I'm going to quickly take a ride on the cycling road for this. Also, at this point in the adventure, I don't think we need to switch back to the Mach Bike for anything coming up, so we're just going to ignore that. Just watch me do some wheelies. Woo! It's definitely been a while since I last rode my bike in real life. Maybe when the snow finally melts, I can get around to getting it set up. It'd be nice to go on some nice quiet little rides every now and then. Especially on days where I don't have to worry about work or streaming. But yeah, we actually want to head back to the Trickmaster's house. Because, as I said before, we have a new challenge we can do at the Trickmaster's house every time we get a new gym badge. So I feel like it would be nice if we could take on some of the trials that have opened up here, since we have taken out both Watson and Flannery. So in this area, you definitely want to make sure you have space in your inventory to be able to grab these items. And also make sure you have an appropriate number of hidden moves. So we already dealt with a trial that required Cut, And I believe we have trials that will require Rock Smash and Strength later on. So for now, we're just going to deal with some of the guys around here. And what else are we able to talk about? So pretty recently, I mean, last night actually, I was talking with one of my friends over on Discord while he was in the midst of playing some of the Marvel vs. Capcom games that recently became available on the Nintendo Switch. And it was quite interesting getting to see him play that. And we're actually kind of talking recently about maybe trying out Soul Calibur 2, since that is now on the Nintendo Switch's online service. So I feel like that would be pretty fun to try out. I actually have played the GameCube version of Soul Calibur 2 way back in the day, and always piqued my interest because that version of the game has Link as a guest character, which was definitely quite cool to see back in the day. So I'd definitely like to give that game a shot sometime soon. We got a Harbor Mail here, so you're able to pick up one of these if you don't want to buy one at the store in order to get the... if you want to get the coin case, I want to say. Yeah, I've been thinking about some other stuff I could mention. I guess I could say that I've been making some more progress in Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I've been playing a good chunk of that game here in February. And it's been pretty nice the amount of progress I've been making so far. So I recently got to the section in the Sector 5 slums, where you meet Aerith, and you get to know a bit more about her, as well as just the general area that you can find in Sector 5. And it's been quite nice. I enjoyed a lot of the quests that I was able to do with her in that area. And especially cool because it culminates in a pretty wild boss fight against a character named Rude, who I'm obviously quite accustomed to back when I originally played Final Fantasy VII. Especially back when I streamed that over on my Twitch channel. But yeah, definitely very cool getting this unique battle against this guy. And I'm quite excited to eventually get to see a bit more, considering that I know what both he and Reno eventually get up to later on in the game's story. So we'll definitely want to get rid of this mail. We have no use for this thing other than selling. Then we'll go check on the next challenge we can do with the Trick Masters. Whoop, didn't mean to check that. Yeah, very happy with the progress I've been making, and so probably later today, I will get started on making our way over to Sector 6, which is quite special because that's the part of the game that has the famous cross-dressing scene that I'm especially a big fan of for a number of reasons. What can I say? Cloud makes a very beautiful woman. Yeah, I'm very excited for the next chunk of the game we're going to be getting to see, because there is a lot going on over there, and oh man, it's just been a fun time going through this game. Getting to see a new side of the Final Fantasy VII story that I didn't really know I needed to see until very recently. So now it's time for another Trickmaster trial. So this is going to be the challenge we get after beating Flannery. So after this, we're going to have to wait until the next gym before we can do another challenge. But this one could definitely be worth doing. So yeah, for this area, you need Rock Smash in order to proceed. So the gimmick with this area is we have these doors that will open and close depending on the switches that you flip here. So either the red doors or the blue doors will be open or closed depending on the positions of the switch. So definitely kind of tricky to navigate this area, but we shouldn't have too much trouble. Ooh, level 28 on Mickey, that's always very good. It's definitely a Pokemon I want to see get some. I don't know too much about using this guy for much of the adventure, but he is quite useful at using HMs, so that's definitely one of the main reasons we have him around. Oh, we can grab another item over here. So I will tell you now that most of the items you pick up in the Trickmaster challenges are just mail, so these really aren't that great to pick up unless you want some extra pocket change. But, you know, money is money. We're going to grab what we can in this area. Aw, you got a Swablu! Such a cute Pokemon, even if it takes a while for it to actually get good. You're awful. Oh, sorry. We got wood mail. Yeah, wouldn't most mail be made out of wood since, you know, paper comes from trees? We also got some switches that are blocked by rocks. So you'll have to break those open to be able to access those switches. I think we should be able to grab this item. Oh, wait, because if we put that switch down, that will cause that switch to spring back up. No. Thinking about the order we want to do this. So I do want to try and get every item we can in these areas. We have to tackle this at a specific order. Okay, I think I actually know where we want to go. We want to head this way, hit that switch, and that opens the path to grab Shadow Mail. I believe that mail has, like, a Skull pattern, and that's always a Pokemon that just has a really cool aesthetic to it, with the skull mask and everything. So that one's cool. Just gonna sell it, but, you know, it's cool. So we got Alan over here. Gotta sell some dudes. Alright, you're intimidated, so I'm not too worried if you decide to go Boom Boom. We're gonna be switching over to Liam to deal with this hiker's team. Yup, there's the Boom. Okay, you're intimidated. Holy shit! Okay, Nose Pass, I know, does not have self-destruct. So we're just gonna go ahead and potion us up. God, that was close. I was just saying earlier that I did not want to kill my starter Pokemon, and then you go and pull that on us? Holy crap. This game, man, it can just blindside you with things you are not expecting. Especially when you're doing a Nuzlocke run, because those close calls could just really upset you. Go ahead and absorb you to replenish our health and take you out. Luckily, these guys don't have a lot of special defense, so you can easily take these guys out. And now that we're level 29, Liam wants to learn Leaf Blade. This is basically the best grass-type move you are going to be getting besides a certain other one. Leaf Blade is a very good damaging grass attack that has a high chance of scoring critical hits. So we are definitely going to have this in Liam's moveset. So I don't really think we're going to be needing Absorb going forward. It's certainly a nice move with the ability to drain HP from targets, but it's such low power that it doesn't seem worth it at this point. But yeah, this move is really good. Basically, this is the best thing that Liam is going to have for a long time. And back in the day, this was the signature move of the Trico family. Just a lot of Pokemon now get this attack, and I'm definitely happy because it's a very good move. But we should be just about done here. We dealt with all the trainers and got all the items, so let's finish up this challenge. I wouldn't exactly say that I covet this guy, but sure. And by doing that trial, we get a Hard Stone. So that is the rock-type equivalent of items like Miracle Seed and Charcoal. So that'd be very nice to give to... we can just go ahead and give this to... Titania. I had King's Rock on her for a while, but yeah, we can... give her the Hard Stone. That'll be very good for buffing the damage of Rock Tomb. Sadly, that's probably going to be the only rock move that Titania's going to have for the rest of her life, as we're not going to be able to get Rock Slide in this game. Normally, that's a move you can learn from move tutors, but those don't exist in Ruby and Sapphire. So, yeah, we're not going to be able to get that. But now that we managed to deal with that trial from the Trick Masters, I'm actually going to switch around our team a bit. So managed to get Leaf Blade on Liam, so you can take a break. And... yeah, let's bring Echo in for a while. I don't really see us doing too many more battles in this session, as I pretty much have one more destination in mind before we are ready to face the next gym. So at this point, we managed to explore the desert, and we got everything we can in the fiery path. At this point in our adventure, there really isn't anything else we can reach by using strength, as there really isn't a whole lot of new stuff we can do. But there are a few more things that we are able to see that could be quite beneficial to us. As remember in the desert when we picked up this root fossil? Well, there's an area we could go to that this fossil would be very nice for us to bring. But for now, I want to head to Slateport. Welcome, how may I serve you? By talking to this guy after we managed to acquire the move Secret Power, we are now able to buy furniture that can be nice to give to our base over in our secret base. We'll go ahead and buy a couple of the bricks. So I believe these are items that you can set up in order to place Pokemon onto. You can also buy water balloons. Kind of an interesting decoration there. And then you have these decorations that put a mat. When you step on them, it plays a musical note. I'm not going to grab those, but just something I wanted to mention here. And in terms of what else we can see here, yeah, we had this guy who had the Pokemon dolls. I forget if there's anything else we can see. Oh yeah, we can now access this shop. And we are now able to buy TMs for secret power if you want to replenish those. And you can also get the TM for hidden power, which is a move that has a different typing and power based on the individual values of the Pokemon that you are using. So it could be a completely different type for any Pokemon we have. Considering our options here, I feel like Shari could actually benefit from having secret power in place of tackle. So we're gonna go ahead and buy another one of these. We have plenty of money at this point, so I don't feel too bad about splurging on this. I'm probably not going to be getting hidden power just because it's such an awkward move in order to figure out which Pokemon will benefit the most from it in this game. Usually in the modern games, there are NPCs that will tell you the type of hidden power your Pokemon get. But in these early days, that is not the case. Alright, you get a nice move that way, Shari. And I'm pretty sure my other Pokemon, Titania, has Takedown. Honestly, that isn't really the best for you, because that will take away your HP every now and then. Echo has Strength, so does Filet, Gladys has Secret Power, and then Mickey I'm not too concerned with giving you this TM. So yeah, we might buy another Secret Power TM later, but I don't want to worry about that at the moment. And we don't got anything else to sell, so I think we are good to head to our next destination. So where we want to go next is we're going to head to Rustboro City. So we're going to have to do a little bit of backtracking to get over there, but bear with me, this will be essential for us gaining a new party member. And while we're heading on over, what's something else we can talk about? So pretty recently I was checking out a stream that Lucajin was doing pretty recently, and I'm very happy she managed to finish her Pokemon White 2 Let's Play that she's been doing the last couple of months. It's always nice whenever someone gets to finish their adventures. And she was actually doing some reaction to, like, old cartoons that she remembers when she was younger, which was quite cool to get to see. Specifically, she was watching an episode from a show called Cops, which is like this animated series back in the day about like a futuristic high-tech world where police officers use a lot more special sci-fi technology in order to solve crimes and stuff against these super-powered criminals who have access to technology of their own in order to pull off all kinds of futuristic jobs. So now that's quite a cool show to get to see a bit more of. Definitely has an interesting premise to it. And she was also watching an episode from a show called Brave Star, which, obviously, if you know Luca, is very on brand for her. Being like this futuristic Western-style show where you have this sheriff character protecting a futuristic mining colony from these ruthless outlaws. Yeah, just an interesting premise for the show. Especially because the main character is implied to be of Native American heritage, which I think is very cool conceptually, having like that kind of protagonist in a very futuristic setting. I don't know, it's just a cool concept to me. Alright, so now that we're back here in town, let's actually want to deposit a Pokemon into the PC for what we're going to be doing next. Bear with me on this, it will be integral. So we want to head back to the Devon Corporation. as the last time we were here and talked to the scientists, one of them had something very nice to say. I've been trying to develop a device that resurrects Pokemon from fossils, and it's working! Wait, that thing you have there, is that a Pokemon fossil? Would you like to bring that Pokemon back to life? I can with my newly developed fossil regenerator. Sure. Excellent, let's do this right away. We'll hand over the root fossil. The fossil regenerator which I made is incredible, but it has one drawback. It takes a long time to work. So how about you go for a stroll, look around for a while? In order to get this fossil, you simply need to leave the room and come back. Nothing more to it. Thanks for waiting. Your fossilized Pokemon's been brought back to life. The fossil was an ancient Pokemon. Laleep it was. And with that, we receive Laleep from the root fossil. If you pick the claw fossil, you would receive a Pokemon called Anorith. And what are we going to name you? So you have a very flower-like appearance, so... I would name you after a species of flower. This may seem like a weird choice. I was thinking we could call you Chris, which is short for Chrysanthemum. Yeah, I'm only doing that because Chrysanthemum is too long and would not fit in the obvious naming conventions of Pokemon here. But yeah, we got ourselves Chris the Laleep. This is a rock grass type Pokemon, and quite the good one. You got a hardy nature, so your stats are about neutral. This thing, honestly, has a pretty garbage moveset at this point. This thing is mainly going to benefit from giving it TMs if you want to give it the moveset you want. But trust me when I say, this is a good Pokemon. It's a very defensive Pokemon that's also a really good special attacker. And rock and grass surprisingly cover each other's weaknesses very well. So this is a Pokemon that can be really good at taking hits and then dishing out damage in return. You do need to baby it a bit in order for it to get fully evolved, but this is still an excellent Pokemon, one I could easily recommend adding to your team. It's going to take me a while to train this one up, obviously, but it's still a good find. And consequently, if you want to go with Anorith, it's mostly a physical Pokemon where it has good attack and defense, but the rest of its stats really aren't that amazing. But still, it could be quite useful to you. So yeah, I am quite happy about that. Managed to get ourselves some new teammates in the form of a Wynaut and a Laleep. Managed to explore a bit more of the Hoenn region, discovering some more secrets. And of course, we got ourselves a gym badge by managing to defeat Flannery. So we only have one more goal ahead of us in this stage of our adventure. There's no place left for us to go but back to Petalburg City. So I think we're going to call things here. So in between sessions, I'm going to be doing a lot of training to prepare my team for the fight to come. And then I hope to see you all again next week, where we'll finally be taking on Norman and earning our 5th gym badge. So until next time, have a good day and take care.